Howdy, Connection Group leaders. Happy Thursday. I hope you're doing great. We're in Ezekiel chapter 37 this week, looking at a passage that's probably familiar to people, but I don't know if you've ever really thought through the implications of this passage, because I really think there's something truly helpful to us, certainly as leaders and communicators, but really just for our people, period. So God gives Ezekiel a vision. They're in captivity. Ezekiel's been in captivity. All of their lives have been absolutely just devastated. And it is the result of their sin. I suspect not everybody that's in captivity have been living really wicked lives. For instance, we know, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We know those guys were living holy lives. But nonetheless, they're reeling with the result of sin of those around us. And God says, here, look at this vision. And he takes him to this place, and it's just a valley of just desert and dry, dead bones. It makes me think about the scene of the shadow place in the Lion King, the place where Simba's not supposed to go. There's just dead bones everywhere. And God says to Ezekiel, hey, look, can these things live? I love Ezekiel kind of hedges his bet in his answer. Well, actually, God, you know. So teach me. I'm not sure what to say, right? And instead of answering the question, God says, Ezekiel, I want you to preach to those bones. It says prophesy, but really that word there just means forthtelling. It's the idea of you declare to these bones what I've said. It says you preach over them. Ezekiel begins to preach, and it says those bones rattle, and they shake, and they begin to come together, and there's flesh and bone on them. And then Ezekiel's supposed to preach to the breath, right? And the breath comes and fills them, and all of a sudden those dead bones become life. Here's what I want you to catch, because there's massive implications for this. There are times when our preaching or our teaching feels so wholly inadequate and just hopeless. I know this is the truth. I know that. But have you seen this meth? I feel like should be something more that we should be doing. And there are times when there's more supposed to be doing, but the answer is always right here. The power is right here. Because here's what God says. Yeah, I want you to speak to these bones. Speak life to those bones. And when you do that, it's not how good of a preacher you were. My power is going to be displayed through my words that I've given you. And it's going to give life to these things and give hope to this situation that looked absolutely dark and desperate and useless. And man, I need to remember that when I'm working with teenagers who are crazy. And you need to remember that when you're working with families who are going through all sorts of crazy stuff. We need to remember that in all of our lives. When everything looks dark and desperate and messed up, God's word is applicable and there's power in it because it's his words.